Hi, Robin with Oxy-Dry, and a beautiful day today. And I'm actually on holidays right now. I just got back from a trip to Victoria. Went down there and saw my family and actually saw my grandkids, and we had a really good time there. And I drove my Nissan down there, so that's the first time it's been out of the valley. Drove it down the highway at 120 kilometers an hour. It did okay. Doesn't have as nice a ride on the highway as my Uplander, but it was all right. But anyway, of course I took everything out of it, and here it is sitting here. And this is going to be a very interesting video for you guys if you've been watching my videos for a while, and especially if you've been a carpet cleaner for a while. I've got a surprise just over to the right of I'm not letting you see it yet. But anyway, when I was down there, I took the roto wash and to show my brother, and we cleaned my mom's little apartment. The traffic areas, mostly the living room, dining room, down the hallway, and in the kitchen area. She has vinyl planking, and it looked fine. She said, "Oh no, it doesn't need to be cleaned. I guess someone in every week or two, they give it a clean, and it looks lovely, and no problem." But I started cleaning it, and it was just incredible, the difference. And unfortunately, I got so excited about it, I forgot to film it. But anyway, the water was absolutely black. It was just astonishing, the transformation. So more video of that to come. But anyway, first surprise. I'd mentioned this in I think my last video, as I had a little surprise, something that I needed to introduce you to. So here's the little surprise. Little surprise. Yoo-hoo! Hello, little surprise. Hello, sweetheart. This is CJ. It's actually Calamity Jane, and she's a purebred Shih Tzu. She had been destined for a puppy mill. They had purchased her, and that was where she was going to spend her days, in a kennel. Basically, she was kept in a kennel pretty much all day long outside. But we found out about her, and we were able to rescue her, and she's a sweet little thing, aren't you, little Calamity Jane? So we got Calamity Jane, and there's Billy the Kid, and Jesse James. So we've got the whole gang, hole in the wall gang, right? And she's a sweet little thing, and she's just trying to figure out where Poo Poo was supposed to go, because apparently, well, I think actually when we got her home and came with a kennel, the blankets that were in there were covered with her poop, so she was just, anyway, she never learned where she was supposed to go yet. So we're working on that, right, CJ? Right, boys? Anyway, so I'm in the garage, obviously, and I've got an incredible surprise. If you've been watching my videos and you've been a carpet cleaner for a while, this is going to get you interested, I think, because I have got something really, really interesting over here. And are you ready? Now, some of you guys know exactly what you're looking at, and some of you haven't a clue. This, boys and girls, is the beginning, or was the beginning, of on-location carpet cleaning. This machine is a 1977 VonSchrader dry foam, what they called a deterger. They were made before that, because I started cleaning with my dad in 1974. And I believe they started up in the 60s. But this machine, the fellow that owned it actually gave it to my brother, and then my brother, he told my brother he had it and said, "Do you want it?" My brother said, "I'll take it." And because he asked me if I wanted it, and I said, "Oh, sure, why not?" I thought it would make a great video, and I had no expectations that I was going to get anything of any value here. I just figured, well, you guys would want to see this, because I'm going to show you this thing, how it works, because this is really quite amazing. If you've never seen these, you don't understand how this thing works. It is really actually brilliant how they did this, because way back in the 60s, the carpet cleaning was done on-location carpet cleaning was done with a rotary shampooer, with coconut oil shampoo and a brush under the machine, and they gravity feed, scrub it down, and then they would follow up behind with a big wet vacuum with a big squeegee on it, and it was usually a really heavy one, and that's how they would extract. This machine was state-of-the-art, because it applies there's a tank right here. Solution goes down into the machine. It generates it with I'll show you in a second how that works, but it generates it into a foam, a dry foam. and there's a cylindrical brush right here that turns at the front of the machine, and you walk forward, and there's a suction at the back right behind the brush, and it sucks it back up into the machine, and there's a recovery tank in the back, and I'm going to show you all that in a sec. And then the brush is adjustable, and to see these things work under the right conditions, it's quite astonishing to see. I mean, they're a fascinating machine to operate, but they do have lots of complications and limitations, and I would never go back to using one, because it really, things have advanced far beyond them. But this was the beginning, and we really owe a real hats off to VonSchrader for what they began for in-home cleaning many years ago. So I wanted to I'll run through the machine. I'll show you some. I can't actually operate it right now because I'll show you in a minute. There's a couple of things I need to address here with it. But I was really amazed. I just plugged it in, turned it on, it started. It's running perfect. It's like, oh well, that's surprising. And then I flipped it over and looked inside, and this thing is in incredible condition. It looks like it's got, I'd swear it has like 10 hours on it. It's hardly, all the wear points show no signs of wear. It's just been sitting for literally decades, and obviously in a dry and heated place, because there's virtually no corrosion on it. There's a little bit of corrosion up here, but that would actually maybe even come off with steel wool. But inside, all the workings and everything, it looks pristine. It's amazing. So I'll just turn it on and let you hear it. That, my friends, is a very solid electric motor. That thing is running smooth. There's no bearing noise. There's no hint of any problem with that motor or anything. So let's go through it. I'll just unplug it here because I'm going to dismantle it and kind of run through how it works. I won't be able to actually show it working yet, because, as I say, I've got a couple of things I've got a gasket or two I got to replace because they're just falling apart. But anyway, obviously the tank is right here, and you put your, I haven't even opened that up yet. There was actually some water in here, believe it or not. Okay, that's stuck. Anyway, the tank comes off. So if you want to transport it, and there's that hose down there, well, it actually is supposed to decouple underneath there, and that's jammed, so we've got to fix that. So I just unscrewed it here. So anyway, there's the tank, and the tank looks like it's in good shape, I think. It doesn't look like it's been leaking, so that would be a concern, but it looks fine. This is not the first version of this machine, because I remember my dad had this particular model, but he also had one where the tank was actually smaller than this, the first version, in 74. I'm not sure if that was actually the very first. In fact, I know it wasn't the first model, because a few years ago somebody had given me another one which was actually even a little bit different shape here. So, and it was even older than this, but I threw that away. I should have done that, eh? Anyway, the handle comes off, and there's a little connection here which that undoes there, and there's clips at the bottom. They're undone right now, so the handle pops off. And there we go. Now at the back of the machine, we have, this is the locking mechanism for the recovery tank. So the recovery tank sits here, pulls out, holds quite a bit. This, by the way, is a direct air vacuum motor, and the fan is right over here. It's very large, and the motor powers the suction, and it turns the belt. There's a belt drive on the side which turns the brush, and right here underneath the machine, this is the later machines ended up with they put the wheels on the outside here, and they got rid of this roller thing, but this has got virtually no wear on it. There's a tank right here. This is actually where you put your defoamer, because it bleeds in as it's running, and there's a little adjustment screw over here. I don't remember the later ones having an actual adjustment screw. You can put your screwdriver through the side over here. There's a little hole. You can adjust the flow rate of the defoamer. The later ones, I think, just had a set orifice, a little plastic device, as I recall, because I had one of these machines about 10 or 12 years ago or so, and I don't recall there being an actual adjustment on it. There was just these little like needle valves, little plastic things, which were a pain in the butt, actually. I like the adjustment. That's better. That's a better setup. But anyway, you can see there's no corrosion in here. It's just in great shape. Really quite amazing. I'll show you the underneath here. Let's look underneath. So the I'll lean it over here. The brush sits in here, and it's been a long time since I did this, but you put it in place, and then we're gonna hang on a minute. Even the locking mechanism for the brush there, just like that, isn't even seized in place, which is just astonishing. So the brush goes in like that, and then maybe it is in place. Anyway, something like that. I gotta figure it out. It's hard to do this with the camera's kind of interfering with me. Well, I'll pull it out of there for now. When the brush comes out, it just has these pins. I mean, there's no wear on these pins where the drive mechanism goes in there. There's no wear there on either side. I mean, this thing's hardly been used. It's amazing. That goes there. Suction's right here. So as the machine turns on, spinning the brush, then it's starting to suck. And there's a steel roller here, or stainless steel. This is aluminum, this is stainless steel. And this rolls along, and there's a slot kind of at the, can you see that? Kind of the front and the back. So it actually doesn't seal on the carpet per se, not really. Well, that's one of the things about it. But it's drawing up the foam. It's not actually meant to suck up water, but rather the foam. And the foam is critical to the way this thing works. On the end of each of this brush roll, there's a little nylon spacer. That's still there. That's amazing. That's one of the first things that wears out on these things. They're cheap to replace and easy. But anyway, there's no wear there. This is all the corrosion that's here. There's virtually nothing. The suction shoe right here. The hose is in great shape. This is the hose that bleeds or draws in the defoamer right here, and it mixes it into the hose. So as the foam goes into the tank, it defoams it, turns it back into liquid. And there's the defoamer tank right there. So we'll bring it back down here. Now the later machines had a little different. This is the brush adjustment, and what it actually is doing is it's actually adjusting the vacuum shoe up and down in relation to the brush. And the later machines had a wheel off to the side here. This was I don't remember this style, but in order to take the motor cover off, you have to you totally back this thing off. And this is not a good idea, and that's why they changed it, because you have to back this thing off totally. And then you can open up the cover here, which you actually need to be able to do right at a drop of a hat or whatever because undo those. And then that comes off. Okay. Now here's the mechanisms. Now, the way it works is, so your solution it comes down here, and this is the flow control valve. You increase or decrease the volume of solution that's coming through this hose. It comes down here, right down here, and there's a solenoid right here. So up at the top of the handle, there's two switches, one for the motor, and the other switch turns the foam on. And that would activate this solenoid. and then the solenoid opens and the solution goes into the foam generating chamber right here, which I'm going to show you just one sec. I'll open it up, but I just wanted to move over here to the belt drive. So here's the belt drive, and I got a spare belt with it, which is brand new, and this belt looks like it's got no wear on it. I can't see any wear on this thing. And then the later ones went to a chain drive, but a lot of guys, I've read comments from other guys who actually converted some of their chain drive machines back to the belt drive because the chain requires lubrication, and that's a pain in the butt apparently. And also they're noisier, so the belt drive is quieter and requires no maintenance. Just have to replace the belt once in a while, and I'm sure they last ever a long time. Now the foam is generated as it comes into this device down here, and I'll open up in a sec. Just trying to, oh, I know, I was going to say this right here, this actually adjusts tension on the belt, which pivots the motor up and down, so that's what that's for. This hose actually fits right in here, and okay, it's popped out of there. We'll see if I can fix that. But anyway, the exhaust air from the motor, which of course gets warm, is blowing through this hose and pressurizes the foam generator plenum, I guess that's what you call it. And these two springs come off of here. Then this comes off of here. That's just like that. Now, this is one of the critical parts of the machine. Everything here has got to be working absolutely perfect, because this is where the foam is generated, and you're after a really dry, even application of the foam. And this was always the thing that was driving my dad nuts, I remember, because you have to make sure that the solution that you have is clean. There's no carpet fibers or anything in it. And then there's, take this thing out of here. See this gasket? I got to replace this gasket. It's falling apart. This thing right here has these holes right across it, so the solution drops into this tube and it moves across here, and then it dribbles just by gravity, feeds down into this. This is the bottom, and at the bottom here you can see this very fine screen. So the air from the motor mixes with the solution that's just deposited through this tube with its multiple holes, and it sits in here, and so it deposits it at the front of the brush, and it lays a real nice strip of foam across the, you can actually build up quite a layer of foam at the front of the machine. You can adjust the volume of foam by that lever there, and away you go. So you got nice dry foam, contains about 8 to 10% moisture, and the brush scrubs it in, and then the vacuum sucks it back out and into the recovery tank, and away you go. So the way it works is brilliant, but the application, it really isn't quite as simple as what I just said, because in the real world you end up constantly adjusting this machine. It's just the way it works. The brush, the height of the brush compared to the brush shoe is critical. It's easy to streak. They market it as a one-pass machine, and that's theoretically that's true, but in reality you're going to make a minimum of 2 passes, because it's easy to end up with streaks on the carpet. They talk about how rapidly it dries, because you end up inevitably doing at least 2 passes. An hour to 2 dry time would be fast drying. Longer dry times are not at all unusual. It's not a fast machine. It's doesn't get up to the edges very well. I think there's a gap of about this much or so on the edges, because on this side, well, you know, we got the belt drive over here, And anyway, it's on paper it looks brilliant, but in reality I would never ever go back to using this machine. I just wouldn't. But anyway, look, there's no corrosion in here. It's amazing. This is almost a new 40-year-old, 45-year-old machine. It's incredible. So I actually expect I might. There's cases where I may actually use this thing occasionally. But anyway, I thought you'd get a kick out of that, and I know there's some of you guys who have used these in the past, and I know that virtually anyone who's ever had any experience with VonSchrader would never go back to them. So if you've been one of those guys, comment on that and let other guys know what you thought. I mean, they did teach they would teach you well how to clean their system, of course, and it's also very critical. The brush, it's really critical that you pre-vacuum the carpet, which you, of course, should be doing anyway, because the brush, if you start picking up hair, it'll start clogging up the brush, and then that's another reason why it streaks. The height adjustment on certain carpets, if you go too low, it'll start streaking. There's things about it that are like when you do a certain carpet, you go across and it's like you're stripping the soil off the carpet. Incredible. And other times, I remember when I was using mine 10 or 12 years ago, I remember jobs where I would clean the carpet and I was just so frustrated because it just would not clean properly. And then I'd go and I went and grabbed my rotary, put my rotary on it, and off the dirt came. Other times it cleaned just fantastic. It was inconsistent. It's also slower, much slower. I would have to drop at least one job a day just to use the machine. And then the cost of the actual cleaning product, what you put in the machine isn't that bad as far as price goes, but you got to use their pre-spray, and the pre-spray, very expensive, and you use a lot of it. So from an economical point of view, they are not that economical. You do less. You can't produce the volume. You got to maintain these things meticulously, particularly the defoamer. It is a high maintenance machine, but my dad raised our family on this. 7 kids used this system, and my brothers and I, we'll talk about that, and it's just shake our heads in amazement, like, wow, he was doing it the hard way. But anyway, you can do it. A couple of years ago, that looked like they were going to be going out of business, but I think they've kind of rallied, and their website is still up and operating. But I would never go back to using the VonSchrader. I have great respect for them. Hats off to them. They really deserve our respect and our thanks for really being there in the beginning for carpet cleaners, and I do respect them. I really do. I'd never go back. And I've actually recently I've been using the upholstery machine for years. That's the VonSchrader upholstery machine, same principle, but I've actually pulled it out of the van. Now I'm using this machine because I'm getting dry times the same, sometimes even better with this machine with the right cleaning head. So things have progressed and changed, but anyway, there you go. There's some history for you guys, and I hope you appreciate that. Write your thoughts and your experiences with the VonSchrader system in the comments. There's lots of guys that would appreciate that there, I'm sure. So hopefully I'll be doing a video where I'm going to show this thing actually operating. I got to replace that gasket. I got to figure out what's going on with this device back here, because it seems to be jammed in place, and then there's a washer missing there, and I got to make sure the solenoid is working too, because that could be seized. But we'll see what happens. I'll be putting it if I do get it running. We're going to do a little video showing it in operation, so look forward to that. So anyway, thank you for watching and have a good day.